one of the greatest of all time. He retires with a whole slew of NFL records. He retires as the all-time passing leader. He is a Super Bowl champion. He is the only quarterback with multiple 5,000-yard seasons. Only one. Everybody else has had a 5,000-yard season. It was just once and then never again. He did it 5 times. Most consecutive games of the passing touchdown, led the NFL in passing 7 times. That's the most of all time. He won Offensive Player of the Year twice, Pro Bowler 13 times, a baker's dozen of Pro Bowls. Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, which is that patch that's on the upper left part of his jersey that is maybe the most special patch in all of sports. We could go on and on and on and on. But here is, here's also a first that I don't think you're going to see anywhere, or it's not a first, it's happened before, but he retires in a select group of individuals. He retires the all-time passing yards leader. Now, Brady is about 1,000 yards and change behind him. We all know Tom is not only going to play next year, he has a contract to play as a 45-year-old starting quarterback, and then maybe even beyond if he wants to do that for Tampa, and that's obviously down the road. Brady is going to eclipse Brees, barring anything totally unforeseen in this category. But he retires the all-time passing yards leader, which is part of a select group. Here are the following quarterbacks that have retired as all-time passing yard leaders. Peyton Manning, who we all know Brees surpassed. Favre. Marino, Fran Tarkenton, Johnny Unitas, and Y.A. Tittle. And I'm sure Tittle broke somebody's record. I decided not to go further back than that. But I think you get the point.
Right.
Tittle retired when LBJ was president. Then Unitas topped him. Tarkenton topped Unitas. Marino passed Tarkenton. Favre passed Marino. Peyton passed Favre. And now Drew Brees has this distinction as retiring the all-time passing yards leader in the NFL, and that is something else.
It is.
Certainly based on the other reasons why Brees is a unicorn. And Brees is somebody, I mean, again, we could go over and over. I could spend the next 15 minutes with all of his records and accolades and numbers in that regard. And the Hall of Fame, you have to be able to tell the story of football without this person to keep somebody out of the Hall of Fame, right? And obviously all those statistics and records, you can't tell the story of the NFL without Drew Brees, number 9. And you certainly can't tell the story of New Orleans football without Drew Brees. And this may be the most special aspect of Drew Brees' career. Name me somebody else who is totally synonymous with the town in which he earned his Hall of Fame stripes. Name somebody who spent 15 years in that place and wasn't drafted by that team. Ooh. I am hard-pressed to think of anybody else. Hard-pressed to think of anybody else. Wasn't drafted by the team. And I know I'm already reading your lips over there, Mike, about Eli Manning, and I'll say this already for all the trolls out there with you spending time trolling on the host off microphone. Actually wasn't drafted by the team, and the team that he played for, that he was drafted by, he actually played for, and he spent a considerable amount of time.
Well, how long was Big Pop? Are we just talking NFL?
We're talking about the NFL, because Steve Young could be part of this group too, but he was drafted by the team that we all know was Tampa, but he also played in the USFL. Steve Young might be the only person that could be considered in this regard.
Is Steve Young synonymous with San Francisco, though, like Brees is?
I think his career is synonymous with the town, but obviously there's Montana there. And you could also say Archie Manning has a special place there for various reasons.
Brett Favre was a Falcon.
Yeah, right. I guess that's true too.
Yeah, man.
That's true too. So then I'll top it one more time here. That he absolutely, and Favre might be an excellent analogy here. He absolutely got completely waylaid in his career, not just by the team no longer believing in him, but getting hurt. Think about how many people could rebound from the way Drew Brees' career started to become what Drew Brees retires as. It is truly remarkable. And Young might be in that category too, because he had to battle the shadow of Montana and what have you, and he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, as Brees is going to be. But don't forget, Brees was drafted in the second round because, again, of his height, which we can put a pin in that conversation, part of the conversation, and I'll unpin it in a couple minutes. He goes there. He starts behind Doug Flutie. Plays only in one game because Flutie gets concussed, doesn't start until his second year, and goes 8-8. Gets a shot the next year, starts 1-7, and is benched for Flutie again. And week 15 hits. He gets the job back, and the record that is posted by the Chargers that year earns them a top 10 drafting spot, and that's how Phillip Rivers came there. Okay. As we all know, San Diego was drafting first overall. They chose Eli and swapped him out for Phillip Rivers. And even though Phillip is there, Drew Brees, after Phillip Rivers gets drafted, goes 12-4. The Chargers win their first AFC West title in 10 years. They go to the playoffs, lose to the Jets in overtime. And I remember that because that was my first postseason working for NFL Network. That was the first one in 2004. We came on the air in 2003. And then he gets franchise tagged the next year, which is amazing. That the Chargers put all this money in Phillip, who held out, by the way, which is part of the reason why Brees was still the starting quarterback there, and he takes that opportunity, wins the division. He gets franchise tagged, and you want to talk about a different time, for $8 million. And then he starts that year over Phillip and then blows out his shoulder in the last game of the year and goes into free agency with a surgically repaired shoulder, and that's how he winds up in New Orleans, and the rest is history. How many people can tell that story? It is truly, truly unlike any other football story that makes Brees that much more special, with the one, if you will, last opportunity with a surgically repaired shoulder in a town that's wiped off the map by a hurricane. He says, I am now a New Orleans guy. I'm a New Orleanian. And I am going to take the Saints to the promised land, set every damn record for quarterbacks, and then join Peyton, Favre, Marino, Tarkenton, Unitas, and Tittle, among others, as those to retire as the all-time passing yards leader. Then we'll just quickly unpin this. And he does it, barely able to see over the line of scrimmage. Right. Honestly. Now, Flutie might have led to Brees being drafted, because if you want to have a quarterback who's similar to the guy that's currently starting, let's not forget Doug Flutie's potential influence. But we're not batting an eyelash over Russell Wilson succeeding anymore. We didn't,
Baker Mayfield
Kyler is another one. You could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
They're now first overall selected quarterbacks at this position due to the height. Now, you could say Russell led to the others as well, but Brees may have led to Russell getting a shot in Seattle, and there's other circumstances, obviously, with Pete Carroll starting people who always compete. But Brees' imprint and footprint and fingerprint, all sorts of prints, have been left on the NFL, and certainly in the town of New Orleans, where he is, as a native Texan by way of Indiana and Purdue, he only got offered by Purdue and Kentucky. That's it. Goes to Purdue, sets records there, goes to San Diego, overcomes a ton, including a torn-up shoulder, to go to New Orleans and become a de facto native son of that city and build what he has built, which is a remarkable legacy. And that's how I tip the cap to Drew Brees. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.